Now, is Skrelv gonna bite off your finger? I don't know, he's a mite. He just might. Listen, man, I've been thinking a lot about Skrelv. He haunts me in the night. I picture him coming up my stairs, tick, 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 with his little claws crawling around my mind. And then, when I least expect it, he jumps up out of my covers and bites off one of my fingers, dude. I like to think that mites are small, but who knows? I mean, this is Phyrexia. Everything's huge and weird. I used to like to buy medium t-shirts, but we would call them mighty medium because they were a bit small. Now, I'm not a big dude. I'm medium, but I'm a mighty medium. You know what I'm saying? So let's pretend Skrelv is about the size of an orange. How the heck is this guy supposed to win a game? He doesn't have the power to blast off and bite a guy in half. He's a hive man. He's a mighty medium. Let's read the card. That's Skrelv, Defector Mite, 1 white mana for a legendary creature Phyrexian Mite. It's a 1/1 with Toxic 1. Skrelv Defector Mite can't block. It has white Phyrexian and tap, choose a color. Another target creature you control gains Toxic 1 and hexproof from that color until end of turn. It can't be blocked by creatures of that color this turn. I think this toxic business is kind of a red herring. The problem is, how the heck are you going to win a commander game when your dude is giving 1 poison counter and he's letting somebody else get a Toxic 1? I guess you could lean in and build all toxic and infect. That's one way to go, but you're stuck in mono white. I've never been a fan of that strategy anyway. Even when you have access to all the colors, it seems slow with creatures that don't seem to get the job done. What kind of jumped out to me about this was that it was pretty close to Mother of Runes in the command zone. Mother of Runes, if you don't know, is 1 white mana for a creature human cleric. It's a 1/1. Has tap, target creature you control gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. Not this Mother of Runes, this lady's whack. I prefer the sassier art. The one that's kind of a young mom, dude. Never underestimate the power of a mom. Mother of Runes was once a pretty pricey card, but it's down to about $2. And listen, Skrelv's effect is not as good as giving protection, but it's a decent facsimile. And then you have the Giver of Runes, 1 white mana for a creature core cleric. It's a 1/2. Has tap, another target creature you control gains protection from colorless or the color of your choice until end of turn. So it looks like a young Daenerys Targaryen over here. She lost her dragon. She's a little sad. This is another slightly different effect. You have to target another creature, but you can give protection from artifacts and stuff. From colorless, rather. Now you're thinking to yourself, Skrelv is not a mother, it's a dude. Well, listen, it's 2023 and dudes can be mothers and mothers can be mites and mites can be as big as you want to make them in your imagination, brother. So now imagine you had Mother of Runes in the command zone. What kind of effects would you want if you had that going on? Well, let's look to the Baldies. We always look to the Baldies for power and precision. So we got Evra Halcyon Witness looking like a young Grace Jones out there. 4 white for a legendary creature avatar. It's a 4/4 with lifelink. Has 4. Exchange your life total with Evra Halcyon Witness's power. If you could make this unblockable from the command zone, you have a pretty powerful strategy shaping up. I think these guys go in each other's decks. This can be augmented with cards that grant double strike. Like the old duelist heritage. It's saying to some young kid, look, your dad was a duelist. He was like Andrew Jackson out there getting shot with bullets and just executing dudes. 2 and a white for an enchantment. Whenever one or more creatures attack, you may have target attacking creature gain double strike until end of turn, which is pretty awesome because you can activate this on your opponent's attack steps. If one of their creatures attack, you can give a double strike if it's attacking one of your opponents, which is fun. What about Sarah Avatar and Soul of Eternity? Sarah Avatar is just chilling on a rock in that classic pose where she's just thinking about slashing somebody up with her sword. These guys can get similarly huge and blast in for a bunch of damage. So we got Skrelv out there making these creatures quasi-unblockable. What are some other effects we can get in white? They can blast life totals really low. Well, man, we got Quiet as Spike, we got Scythe Claw. Those are both pretty awesome. Quiet as Spike is 3 generic mana for an artifact equipment. Equipped creature has Death Touch. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, that player loses half their life, rounded up, has equipped for 3. I accidentally bought a Quiet as Spike off wish.com, alright? I was looking for a turkey baster, but you know how things go. So what's better than giant creatures blasting in for damage? Vehicles, dude. Yeah, Reaver Titan. 7 generic mana for an artifact vehicle. Has Void Shields. Protection from mana value 3 or less. It also has a Gatling Blaster. Who doesn't have a Gatling Blaster? Whenever it attacks, it deals 5 damage to each opponent. Has Crew 4. It's a 10/10, dude. What a sweet new card from Warhammer 40k Universes Beyond. This thing beats in for lots of damage and it kind of spreads the damage around with those Gatling Blasters, dude. Blast your friends in the face. And you got your mighty servant of Luco. Dude, look at those mighty arms. 3 generic mana for an artifact vehicle. It's a 6/6 with trample. Has ward, discard a card. Whenever mighty servant becomes crewed for the first time each turn, if it was crewed by exactly 2 creatures, it gains whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw 2 cards until end of turn, has crew 4. One of my favorite budget cards. It's like one of those little rides where you have like with a romantic partner, like you ride through the little Swan Lake or whatever the heck it is. This thing beats in, deals damage, draws cards. What do you want, dude? So he can have crewing all these sweet vehicles. Mono white doesn't have a ton of draw, doesn't have a ton of ramp, but it does have a lot of little 2-power hate bears that can screw up our opponents. And those little guys make great vehicle crewmen. We already took a look at imposing Sovereign. She's out there imposing her will on you. She's just like, everything's coming in tap. I don't care what you say. Then you have Loxodon Gatekeeper out there, 2 white. For a creature elephant soldier, it's a 2/3. Artifacts, creatures, and lands your opponents control come into play tapped. This guy's out there like, nuh-uh, ain't coming in here, dude. Nope. Then you have Thalia, Heretic Cathar, 2 and a white for a legendary creature, human soldier, it's a 3/2. Creatures and non-basic lands your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. She's out here looking like Miss Charleston, South Carolina. What do you think about the conflict in Ukraine? Well, and such as, and I think, Aven, Mind Sensor, dude. This guy's censoring your mind, dude. 2 and a white for a creature bird wizard. It's a 2/1. Flash flying. If an opponent would search a library, that player searches the top 4 cards of that library instead. These cards are really great for tripping up your opponent, slowing them down, and they're magnets for removal because everybody hates them. So they're going to waste removal on a little 3-mana piece of junk card like this, and your big stuff is going to sit there like swinging him for 1,000 damage, dude. And you know what else white does really well? Removal and board wipes. If your buddies start popping off early, just sandbag into a board wipe. Don't play anything. Mass Calcify is a bit overcosted, but that can be a real blowout, dude. And that's 5 white for a sorcery. Destroy all 9 non-white creatures. You know, basically you're just saying, hey, listen, I don't want any of these horny dudes out here. Turn all those horned up dudes into calcium deposits, dude. And who doesn't love the Monarch? And I think Skrelv would be great for the Monarch for a couple reasons. Number 1 is a lot of these white creatures have vigilance. Number 2 is that you can force damage through. If they take the Monarch from you, you take it back. You got your Court of Grace, 2 white for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, you become the Monarch. That's right, you can be Prince Harry, dude. You can divorce Meghan Markle. That's what everybody wants him to do anyways. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. If you're the Monarch, create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying instead. You have Palace Jailer, 2 white for a creature human soldier. It's a 2/2. When he enters the battlefield, you become the Monarch once again, dude. When Palace Jailer enters the battlefield, exile target creature an opponent controls until an opponent becomes the Monarch. Now take a look at this dude. He's also a bald dude, right? He works for Prince Harry, and he's like, oh, jailed up Meghan Markle for you, Harry. Don't worry about it. Anyways, very interesting protection effect in the command zone. He's a perfect little mite. I like Skrelv. He's a hive man. He's fighting the power of 1 finger at a time. I think there's a deck with big vehicles and hate bears to crew them along with Skrelv, granting protection, blasting them in for damage. I'll drop a deck list, though I think it would need some fine tuning. Yeah, this guy's out there biting off fingers, and you'd be surprised. That's a great pastime in some parts of the world. My friend married an Eastern European woman, and she used to tell this story about how her uncle bit her grandpa's finger off in a vodka-fueled rampage. And that's the spirit of Commander. And that's better Commander, dude.